Greetings, I, Dr. W.D. Gaster, once again volunteer my time to read to you a chapter of the Golden Quiche. In these Gaster Teatime tales, we're going to see what shall unfold after that fateful little pinky promise from the previous chapter. Without further ado, let us begin. Chapter 5, Lunch Meeting. You helped Mum make lunch. It's ravioli, stuffed with spinach, feta cheese, and some chopped snails. Snails sounded gross at first, and well, they kind of were for a dozen or so meals. An acquired taste. You don't know when it happened, maybe on the 13th try, but they turned out rather delicious in the end. Very delicious, in fact. Overnight, you've gained a new appreciation for escargot. Now you're even looking forward to Grilby's baked sea snail special. They're pretty rare to come by. While Mum seasoned the filling, you took the cold pasta dough out from the fridge, rolling the balls into square sheets and portioning them out. You wonder how monsters process human food without a standard digestive system. Likewise, you wonder how it's possible for humans to gain nourishment from items made of magic. Despite all those questionable logistics, both sides suffered no ill effects from cross-consumption. It had become a subject of curious study for Alphys and the local scientists. You told Mum that you had finished the dough work. Thank you, my child. Mind helping me spoon out the filling? You agreed to help. The filling smelled of fragrant brine and herbs, mouth-watering long before it's finished in the pot. The Toriel special. Toriel. To you, it's the perfect name for the perfect mother. Sweet and gentle, yet tough as nails whenever she must. Though, if possible, you rather not see that side. It is stressful for her, too. Given the choice, she'd rather stay as the warm, loving, almost smothering matron. You carefully layer the other sheet of dough on top. Then you told Mum that you finished the first batch. Oh, that looks lovely, Mum exclaimed. Go ahead and fill the second batch. She drew out an all-purpose kitchen knife from the holder and started cutting the sheet into squares. Kitchen knives now have a whole different meaning to you. Every other kitchen chore was fine, except anything that involved a sharp edge. You rather not fall into the same temptation again. Mum thought you were too young to use such a dangerous tool anyway. Her overprotectiveness was to your favor. While you worked on the pasta, you heard someone knocking on the main door. 2 knocks, no more, no less. I'll answer that. Mum placed the knife down on the counter and wiped her hands. Gleeful anticipation stretched across her face. She knew who had arrived. He's the only one who would ignore the doorbell. Knock, knock, he said. Can never pass up a chance for a joke, right? You tried to listen to the full skit from the kitchen, but you were too far away. The exact contents of the exchange weren't important anyway. It's the fact that it will make Mum laugh. And laugh she did, along with a certain short skeleton and a geeky lizard scientist. Wait, a geeky lizard scientist? That was unexpected. You decided to take a peek. Alphys and Undine, the loving couple, had tagged along with Sans, much to your surprise. Alphys carried a black briefcase. That piqued your curiosity, so you kept spying. Undine, however, caught wind of your presence, greeting you with her distinctive ear-to-ear, almost slasher grin. You smiled back in the exact same manner. She likes it when you do that. In the meantime, Mum and Sans continued talking about you. How's the kid doing, Tori? He asked. Excellent, Mum answered. On their way to becoming a bona fide chef? I sure hope so. I can't wait for the day where I get floored by their culinary skills. Oh, Tori, don't let Papyrus hear that. You're going to give him a bad burn. More laughing ensued. Alphys just grinned, awkward as ever. Do you need anything in the meantime? Asked Mum. It'll be quite a while before lunch is ready. I'm good, said Sans. Just got to get the list sorted before everyone arrives. It would have been a totally normal sentence if it wasn't said by Sans. Alphys fidgeted a bit. A glass of water is fine. I don't want to spoil lunch." Undine wholeheartedly agreed with her partner's choice. The colder the better. You cleaned your hands and got their drinks. "Oh, Frisk, thanks. Weren't you busy in the kitchen?" You shrugged in response. "Sorry, I don't mean to bother you." You told her that's no problem. Then you tried to head back into the kitchen, but Mom stopped you. She said, "Frisk, you should review your itinerary. An ambassador must know their meeting details long before it begins. Consider it your career training. I'll handle the rest of the cooking from here onwards." "Shouldn't Mom be the one to prepare? She was once the queen, and Gerson told you that she's the backbone of the nation when she was in power, but she did say that it was training." The four of you sat side by side at the table. Alphys opened up her briefcase to reveal a whole lot of printed material. You recognized the logo on the top of the page. It belonged to social services. "Sans told me about your custody troubles," she said. "For this meeting, I think it's best to go through the major details first. Gather questions from everyone. Clarify. Highlight the ones we need expert help. Then we'll ask the neighboring mayor for a lawyer." For a moment, you wondered if you're talking to some twin sister that you never knew. Undine and Alphys had a serious mode. That was an opposite reflection of their usual selves. For example, on a normal day, Undine was a loud, anime-obsessed lady. Her level of basic common sense almost rivaled Papyrus. This was the person who believed mind control was real. But in the darkest hour, she could transform into a true knight of heroism. Undine the Undying, so fueled by her own determination, she once survived a fatal blow. Alphys, archetype number 1 of an insecure and awkward nerd, also anime-obsessed. No one ever expected her to do great things. Yet, you knew she did. When the underground was in danger, she devised an evacuation plan on massive scale. Her refusal to give in to her own fears saved the lives of many. She proved to be so capable. The survivors crowned her queen. Those took place in a different timeline. Still, knowing their hidden potential put your mind at ease. You tried to be a good ambassador, to read the legal papers. Unfortunately, you can't grasp the inherent complexity. The confusion was evident in your frustrated expression. "Sans told me about your custody troubles," she said. "For this meeting, I think it's best to go through the major details first. Gather questions from everyone. Clarify. Highlight the ones we need expert help. Then we'll ask the neighboring mayor for a lawyer." For a moment, you wondered if you were talking to some twin sister that you never knew. Undine and Alphys had a serious mode that was an opposite reflection of their usual selves. For example, on a normal day, Undine was a loud, anime-obsessed lady. Her level of basic common sense almost rivaled Papyrus. This was the person who believed mind control was real. But in the darkest hour, she could transform into a true knight of heroism. Undine the Undying, so fueled by her own determination, she once survived a fatal blow. Alphys, archetype number 1 of an insecure and awkward nerd, also anime-obsessed. No one ever expected her to do great things, yet you knew she did. When the underground was in danger, she devised an evacuation plan on massive scale. Her refusal to give in to her own fears saved the lives of many. She proved to be so capable. The survivors crowned her queen. Those took place in a different timeline. Still, knowing their hidden potential put your mind at ease. You tried to be a good ambassador, to read the legal papers. Unfortunately, you can't grasp the inherent complexity. The confusion was evident in your frustrated expression. Your 3 friends helped translate the convoluted sentences. Why must legal papers be so complicated and redundant? How can anyone understand these It made you realize why lawyer exams were so notorious for their difficulty. Despite their best effort, you still ended up highlighting a quarter of the contents. You were glad to have their help. These would have been too much to handle alone. Papyrus made his grand entry about half an hour later. He wasn't late. In fact, he was punctual. He told you the night before that he will arrive on that point of time, and he did exactly that. Not too early, not too late. Daddy Asgore arrived last. You felt Mom's mood sour the moment he entered your home. Although he brought along a box of his favourite tea, he stayed away from the kitchen. It's Mom's space in there, and he didn't want to invade it. You hoped that they could start anew on the surface. But Mom had yet to forgive her husband for his mistakes. Losing dear children to his policies wounded her far deeper than you had realized. Lunch was served with happiness and smiles, despite the awkward tension between Toriel and Asgore. The inevitable fawning of pasta delights from Papyrus helped maintain the light mood. It was then you had an uncomfortable revelation. The only poor souls who were not legal savvy was Papyrus and you. They could have just done everything without your knowledge, but they chose to include you. That sentiment touched the bottom of your heart. Also, you pitied Papyrus for what he had to struggle with. "Okay, sons," said Papyrus. "How could a complete stranger claim Frisk again?" Sans answered. "Let's say, for example, Frisk is a child of person A and B. Person A divorced person B, remarried to person C. Then person A and C got into a financial pinch. The next of kin who can care for them would be person D, who is a relative of person C. You lost me at person A. It is a long-winded matter, bro. It is a long-winded matter in D. A, did you just turn that piece of a delicate puzzle into a pun, Sans? I can't believe it." The short skelly snickered and snorted. "Some things just don't change." You noticed that Mom scrunched her brows in a rather intense manner. She said, "I don't think Frisk had ever told us their background. It would be rude to make assumptions." Undine glanced to the side. She does that whenever she's troubled or reluctant. Or sympathetic. "Yeah, punk. As an urchin, I understand it's hard to talk about your childhood, but we gotta know where you stand so we can help. Despite the countless resets, you had never confessed your background to your monster family. It's about time that you did." Mom held your hand. Her furry fuzz added extra comfort to her warm gesture. You explained to them that you're legally an orphan, a person without any known biological parents. You remembered growing up with plenty of other children in foster homes. After hitting the age milestone that your fosters decided, you would move to a different home. You were not a difficult child, but they thought you'd be better off elsewhere. Something about different age groups and school requirements. Some homes were better than others, but they were often overcrowded. On the plus side, you learned how to act and care for other people. Deep inside, you felt like some factory-line product. The system shipped you around to be grown and assembled into a proper adult. There was love, but they were rather distant and divided between the other children of the system. When you were done, you stared down on the table. Mum reached out to give you a hug. She's warm and soft. You wanted to bury your face into her clothes and forget about the deal. "Sorry to hear that," Undine said. "Were you abandoned? Or your old folks, they didn't make it?" You don't know. The foster parents had the details, but they didn't tell you the full story. You had never thought to ask either. "Dear child," Dad addressed you, "why were you on Mount Ebot? How did you get there?" You explained to him that it was a school trip. You got too adventurous for your own good and wandered away from camp. Out of sheer curiosity, you climbed to the top to peek into the huge hole above. The ground then crumbled beneath your feet. I find it odd that your society's guards didn't search for you, he said. When we arrived on the surface, we found no signs of any human activity. Dad had a good point. What if more time had passed than Frisk realized? Alphys proposed. Did you notice any change of seasons? Like, from spring to summer? You tried to recall, but it wasn't clear. What if you had gone missing for months? The clothes you wore were not quite in season for summer, that's for certain. San started to sweat a bit. He's still grinning, but you can see he was uncomfortable. What if they thought the kid's dead? Falling into a pitch-black hole isn't a good sign of survival, you know? Maybe that's why they didn't outright try to jump on the whole custody deal. Probably thought Frisk is some ghostly doppelganger or something. Listening to San's theory brought chills up your spine. The whole idea reminded you of Kara in a bad way. Papyrus raised his mittened hand. Oh, great. He's going to give more of his special brand of logic. You let him anyway. It could be enlightening, if not entertaining. So he began. Frisk is probably, maybe apparently, like an abandoned quiche. Each of this foster family took care of the quiche until they fulfilled their quota and then passed them to a different person. No one thought they were special. Then one day they fell into the underground. Through the super awesome power of friendship, the quiche saved all of monster kind. Suddenly, they're a very, very, very important special friend. They had become extra shiny, a golden quiche, and everyone knows humans have a strange obsession with shiny yellow things. Now everyone wants to claim Frisk as their own, be it through trickery or force. Quiche logic aside, that was accurate. Papyrus gasped, aghast and horrified. "Oh my God! That is child napping!" said the person who once tried to capture you. Alphys started writing down the to-do list. Her strokes were fast, furious, and illegible to anyone other than herself. Okay. We need to get Frisk's foster history, and we should ask for a registry from social services. With that data, we can weed out any fakes who claim to be in the system. Oh, and we should find out more about their biological family. I think that's the term. What about DNA testing, you asked? That is a must. Alphys' spirit was on fire. It's burning a bit too hot. Before you know it, the meeting snowballed into a giant pile of suggestions. You were glad that Mum's around to provide common sense. You do not want a high-strung Undyne stalking your every moment, or Papyrus insisting on following you into the bathroom, at school, in front of all the other students. It may deter kidnappers, but you were not ready to sacrifice the remaining shreds of your social life. Plus, the ordeal would tire them out too soon. By the time they wrapped up the meeting, it was late evening. You were dead tired, to the point where you wanted to lie down in bed until dinner. Homework can wait. And yet, this was training. Does that mean the grown-up ambassador work will be more daunting than this? What in the world did you sign up for? Is there a chance for a career change? You smacked your cheeks with both hands. Told yourself to get a grip. Working alone obviously did not work out, judging from all the times you've reset. You rolled on your back to face the ceiling. As you closed your eyes, a warm, wide smile refused to go away. The tenacity of your monster family filled you with the determination to face tomorrow. What a lovely lunch that was, and thus the title of the book has been coined by none other than the Great Papyrus. Ah, the minefield of legalities is difficult to navigate indeed. Have a good day or night, wherever you may be.